So, welcome to the Formal Methods Playground. This is the page that you see the first time when you say play.formalmethods.net. The main elements here are the tool that is supported by the Playground or that is integrated into the Playground. We have Nimbool, SMT, which is basically Z3, then UXMV as a model checker, Alloy, and Spectra for synthesis. We start with Nimbool. Usually the next elements here after selecting the tool, so you see that it slightly changes a bit the layout when you select the different tools, but it's mainly the same we have on the left an editor where you write your specifications, and on the right an output box where the tool that you execute gives you the output, and to execute the tool you basically hit the run button. So on the bottom we have some guidelines. So for example, if you want to know how to use Nimbool as the input language here from the Nimbool tool, you can see that this is the grammar. So here's a quick example of a specification in the Nimbool syntax, which is basically something for SAT solving. So we have propositional, which is Boolean variables. And here is a simple model of some traffic light, and then we can simply say run, and it gives us the output of the tool as if you would run it, for example, on the command line. But now everything works here in your browser or on the web server that might be behind your browser and running our Playground. So that's basically the execution of the different tools. Now, some of them are slightly different. So for example, Alloy has further things that you need to choose. So an Alloy model can have different commands, and you need to select the ones to execute. So we have this box here, not just the run button, but a box above it, where you can select which one you want to run. So let's say run the first one. Then you see here a visual output of the instance. And let's say we want to run the second, checking an assertion and see if there's a counterexample. And yes, indeed, there is a counterexample. So there are some other videos which explain the examples a bit more in detail, but this is just the quick overview. If, let's say, some lines get too long when you're writing, you can also maximize the different windows, and then you can still have access by a bit of scrolling to maybe the execution. But then if you want to see the output, you can also go there, and let's see, maybe here the textual output, this gets a bit long, so you can have also a maximized view of the textual output. And then for Alloy, you also see this next instance button. That's a specific thing to Alloy, that it supports iteration through instances. So then you have additional buttons based on what kind of tool you're selecting. So further into the Playground we have, so this is always the main part, basically tool selection, then editor for the different languages, then the output box, and the part to run the tool. You also see a login button. So see what happens there. We can log in with different identity providers. So for example, Google or GitHub. I already used GitHub here. And then once we log in, we have this history button, which we didn't have before. The history button basically keeps the history. We can maybe refresh of what we have edited before. So here I ran these things before. It keeps the history whenever you run something. So even if I don't change anything and I run it, it just adds it to the history because we're not checking whether it changed or not. So now if we refresh, we see that yes, there is a new version that I ran. If you want to click through the different parts of your history, you can pin this history, and then by clicking through it, it will always update here the tool and the visualization. The tool and the editor content. So it will only update the tool and the editor content. It doesn't store the computed instances, so you always have to fresh run because this might be some old content from previous runs. Okay, so that's the history. If you want to delete your profile. So if you don't want to be associated with this history anymore, you just do delete profile, and then your data about your account that you authenticated with will be gone from our server. You can also download your data, which would then give you an archive of in a JSON format of your data. But maybe more interesting is some other buttons here. For every editor, we have this button for a new spec. This simply clears the editor window. You can upload a file based on the tool. You can download a file based on the tool. It picks the right extension, and you can copy a permalink. So the permalink is something that is generated up here that you can see also. That's basically the text or some words that can be associated with each spec. And they're also automatically generated. So if we extend the class maybe to have a teaching assistant, and then we run again, it will change the permalink. So you get a new permalink for every run that you do. Doesn't mean that they are different specs, just different permalinks. So you can copy this to the clipboard and share it with others, and they can get the editor content. Nothing else, just the editor content that they can get. You can integrate these links, for example, in lecture slides. Then students can click and immediately execute the specifications that you discussed in class, for example. Another feature, dark mode. Here we just link the source code to the repository. So everything that you see there is automatically built here, and we deploy it basically from this source code, and it's under MIT license, so you can use it and extend it any way you like. So that's the main elements of the playground, quick overview, and then there'll be some other videos which give details on the different tools and some examples in a little bit more detail.